they was asking me when I was ringside.
Right.
I had people asking, T.O., you next? And then I had one guy that's like, yo, this is gonna be fun. They was like, if you had to fight her, who would you want to fight? I said Donovan McNabb. and I'm dead serious. Shannon, I'll knock him out. Because there'd be so much
But you can't do that. But see, no.
I would go in there. I know I'll be controlled.
Right.
It'll be controlled anger. I'll be like a Navy SEAL. I'll be a Navy SEAL because they cool under all conditions, but there will be a fire burning inside of me.
So you literally try to knock the man out.
Clean out. I knock chunky soup from him. from 2004. Trust me.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life.
Hello, welcome to another edition of Club Shay Shay. I am your host, also the proprietor of Club Shay Shay. And the guy that's coming by for a drink and conversation today is an all-time great. I do not believe you can tell the story in the history of the NFL without mentioning his name. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler. He's a 5-time first-team All-Pro. He's one of 3 men to be first-team All-Pro with 3 different teams. He's an all-decade receiver of the 2000s. You know him as initials, T.O., Terrell Owens. T.O., what's going on, bro?
Man, what's good, man?
You like that intro?
Boy, I was looking at it, I was like, man, he's rambling it out like he's reading from a teleprompter.
So you're here today. You got a wine. You're gonna tell us about some of the other things that you also have.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about 81 T.O.
Well, I'm fortunate, number one, to be collaborating with another Hall of Famer who just recently passed, and Tommy Lasorda.
Okay.
Los Angeles legend as well, with all the greats that live here.
Right.
But I had the opportunity to collaborate, and growing up in the South, we didn't know anything about drinking wine. It was either moonshine.
Communion.
Yeah.
That's the only time you got wine.
That's it. And so I came about this opportunity, and I couldn't pass it up. And my first experience being from Alabama and then getting drafted to San Francisco, never really experienced wine.
Right.
Like California experience. And so I gave them kind of like my likes and dislikes of the experiences that I had. It was dry, pasty, just didn't like it.
Right.
And so with 81, I included some of the, the things that I didn't like. They incorporated the feedback and to make 81. And so the tasting notes and the ingredients with 81 is it's like a ripe black cherry, plum preserves,
Right.
Cinnamon stick aromas,
Okay.
dark chocolate,
Right.
and a spicy toasted oat.
Okay. So you did a lot of research. You seem like you put thought into it. You just didn't say, well, no, just slap my name on it, we good. It seems like when I hear you talk, you're like, okay, this is what I like. These are some of the wines that I've tasted. Right. How do we get something similar but have my personality?
Absolutely. And so even with the aesthetics of the bottle, if you look at it,
right.
the label is textured.
Yep.
I know you like that pig skin, so you can
tell. I noticed that.
So very instrumental in really from the aesthetics all the way to the inside.
Right.
Obviously, there's a base, and so with this wine, it's a Cabernet, so it's a 95% Cabernet.
And he got his initials. I don't know if you can see that from this distance,
right.
But the line and it got T.O.
Right.
So
that's my logo, and also
right.
my clothing line as well.
Right.
So just trying to build and on what I've been able to do. On the football field,
right.
and really kind of post-football and trying to establish some businesses. So if you're into wine, definitely go check this out, 81vino.com. Like I said, it's a Cabernet blend, right. 95% Cab and 5% Syrah.
You mentioned you got the wine. You say you got a clothing line. Yeah. The shades you're wearing is also from?
Part of my line, Prototype 81. I got a clothing line. Obviously, I always talk about my 3 pillars of success.
Right.
You know what I mean? Obviously, you had your path, and there are things that motivated you. Obviously, right. Similar. I know we've talked about it with our grandmother, but when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, going to growing up in a small city,
Correct.
Small town in Alexander City, Alabama.
Right.
Then going to a small Division I AA school, UT Chattanooga.
Right.
And then, I played 15 years I get obviously nominated in 2016, and I didn't really know much about the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Because a lot of, some guys play to get to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Some guys play for whatever.
Right.
And so when I went, I did an interview with Chris Rose and those guys when I got nominated. They asked me to come to the studio, and they talked about it because it was like the class of,
Right.
that we were, that I was with. And I just did an interview and didn't really understand the magnitude of what I had just done until
Right.
I got home. I'm looking at the TV and I'm looking at all the highlights, everybody that's in that class.
Right.
And I'm like, man, this is a big deal.
Right.
I'm like, how did I get here?
Right.
And so when I talk about my 3 pillars of success, it's desire, dedication, and discipline.
Right.
And so with the fabrics of everything that I do, I try to incorporate that into everything. And so if I didn't have the desire, and everybody has a desire to be or do something in life,
Right.
but you got to dedicate yourself. And you talk about some of the greats. You're in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
There's something about you. There's something about the 300 plus, 30 plus guys that are in that museum.
Correct.
It's something about them that made them go from good to great.
Right.
And so that was something that I really stuck with, and that was my discipline. And so when you talk about my career, you look at how I got there, I wouldn't be there without those 3 Ds.
You mentioned about going and doing the interview, and they're rolling footage of some of the plays you made in your career.
Mm-hmm.
And I've often told people this, you don't realize some of the things that you've done because you're in it. So
Right.
you don't, when I'm in it, I didn't go back and look like, oh man, last year, let me go back and look at some of the things I did. Or let me go back. You don't do that because you're in it. You're like, I'm trying to get better. And then once it's over, I found myself going back and looking like, well, okay, I guess I'm worthy of being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Right, absolutely. And I think that factored into obviously me, making my decision to do it elsewhere
Right.
after I got snubbed 2
Right.
times. And so the first time I was like, okay, I was going to be a grown man about
Right.
it, be mature about it. And I'm like, okay, next year I get in.
Right.
And then when the next year came up, we've talked about it and it didn't happen.
Right.
And I felt disrespected.
Right.
The first year disappointed, but then the second year I felt disrespected, to the nth degree. And so at that point, like I said, I had to take matters into my own hands.
Let's talk about something, because I don't think people at home.
You don't mind if I?
No, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead, bro. I don't think people at home realize, and I've told you this, and I've told others, even when the voters were coming around asking me, so, well, talk to me about T.O. I said, I believe he's the second greatest receiver of all time. I said, there's no disrespect to any of the guys, because I was in the NFL when Jerry's prime. I was in the NFL when Randy got in, when you got there, and some of the greats. I said, this is no disrespect to anybody that's in the hall, but I believe T.O. is the second best behind Jerry. And they said, well, what about the other stuff? I said, well, you guys, and the bylaw says the other stuff doesn't matter. It said on the football field. That's what mattered. So here's some of your accomplishments. You played 15 NFL seasons, you mentioned. 1,078 catches, 15,934 yards, which is, if I'm not mistaken, that's third behind Jerry and Larry Fitzgerald now. You have 153 receiving touchdowns. That's third behind Jerry and Randy Moss. 3 times you led the NFL in receiving. You scored at least 13 touchdowns in 7 seasons in the 10-year span from 98 to 2007. You're the only NFL player in history to score at least 2 touchdowns against all 32 teams. You're the only player in NFL history to have 3. No, let me get this correct now. Only player in NFL history to have a 200-yard receiving game with 3 different teams.
I did that.
You see, what as my crack researcher put it, I said, I bet he don't even know this. You did that.
Man, that's crazy.
But
Especially the 200-yard game, because I mean those are hard to come by.
They are.
And the only one that really comes to mind is
Chicago,
San
San Francisco.
It's a 283.
Yeah.
And I was mad because they pulled me out with probably maybe
You wanted 3. You wanted 3.
because I knew it. I knew what was going on, and I'm like, 300. Some people,
that's a mythical number for a receiver.
right. Some people go a full season and they don't get 300
exactly,
yards.
exactly.
You know what I mean? So I was just,
T.O., like you're in a game and you know this is it. You catch it, everything, and everything seems so easy.
Right.
And no matter what the DB does, no matter what the coverage they call, they can't see you. And you like, just let me take full advantage of this.
Yeah.
Don't let me get
Yeah.
hurt. Don't let nothing happen. Don't blow them out.
Well, the thing was, like, pregame, Dr. Harry Edwards, professor, and he was kind of like, part of the organization. And so, at this point, like I said, I'm kind of like, at the height of my career, just
Right.
starting to really make a name for myself. And so we were eating breakfast that morning, and so we already knew, like I said, this is Jerry's last hurrah.
Right.
So we were like, so he was like, yo, this is Jerry's thing, kind of just, because they knew I was going to score, possibly celebrate or whatever.
Right.
He like, kind of tone it down a bit,
Okay.
let this be.
This Jerry
And
Day.
I was, and I
You
was
good with that?
right. I was receptive to that.
Okay.
I first, the script of 15, whatever, 16 plays, man, they had 14 or 15 of them were all Jerry. All Jerry. And I wasn't mad at that because I'm like, okay, I've witnessed greatness,
Right.
For a number of years.
Right.
I can imagine. this
Hopefully,
being-
when it's my time, they give me this love.
Right. So the game plan, as it unfolded, we weren't the only one that knew that this was Jerry's last day. The defensive coordinators knew all week.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then the defensive players, they started doubling him. They started taking shots at him. You know what I mean? And then it got, it was to the point to where they knew, and it felt like we were forcing the ball to him.
Right.
And then it got to a point to where we weren't really, our offense was stalling because of how the game
Right.
was unfolding. And so it got to the point to where Jeff, he just had to go through his progressions. If he wasn't double teamed, if he was double teamed, he had to go, and I was usually number 2 or 3 in the
Right.
progression. And that's how I ended up with, probably, I don't know how many catches in like the first.
That was hold on. Then you have 20. You had 20 catches that day for 283. And everybody thought you had something to do with, like, how could T.O. do this on Jerry's day?
Right, exactly. Like I was throwing it and catching it. You know what I mean? And so for me, man, I was a benefactor.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just of what he's done throughout the course of his career. And again, if I would have dropped 20, you know what I mean? I would have looked like the worst,
Right.
duo, part of the duo ever. So for me, I was just doing my job.
Right.
And as you know, you have duos throughout the course of the season. You have number ones and you have number twos. And then just like with my numbers, they were very inflated because of what Jerry had done throughout the course of his career.
Right.
You have guys today that are benefactors to number ones, and then their numbers at the end of the season are like number ones, and they think they're a number one,
Right.
but they're really not.
Right.
So I was just fortunate, man, to just build on that. And
Right.
so it was kind of symbolic in the sense of just passing of the torch.
Right. Did you feel bad because you knew, having seen Jerry practice every
Yeah.
single day, know his work ethic? He's the one that made everybody in the West Coast, you catch a 5-yard route, you got to finish the ball 40, 50 yards down the
I
field.
did it everywhere I went.
Sick. I'm like, come on. And Mike was my head coach. So when he came back, he brought that. I catch a stick route or I catch a shallow cross. I got to finish 60 yards, and then they call another play again.
Yeah.
Well, that's how Jerry did it. So you saw his work ethic. You know what he had done to put in for that last, and everybody knew that was going to be his last game in San Francisco. When you go home that night, and you're laying in bed, you're like, damn, I had 20 for 283. Did you feel bad for Jerry? Because you know he wanted it.
I honestly, man, and this is what's so crazy about me in football. Like, I never thought I would play beyond the collegiate level.
Mm-hmm.
So to play football and become competitive and learn the little nuances and intricacies of playing the receiver position, I was just kind of just learning on the fly.
Right.
So I never looked that far ahead or into it as me becoming who I became or taken away from Jerry. I was just, honestly, I was still learning the position. I was so green and so raw that I didn't think of it like that.
Right.
I was just looking at it as I was doing my job.
Right.
And so that's how I looked at it throughout the course of my career. And I try to educate guys and let these guys know the numbers are going to be there. If you're doing and you're preparing yourself
Right.
for whatever position that you play, you don't have to worry about the numbers.
Right.
They're going to take care of itself.
Right.
And so I never really laid in my bed at night thinking, okay, I took this away from Jerry or whatever. Football, honestly, like I said, if I had to say it now, it was almost like a hobby to me because basketball was my passion. That was my love.
Right.
And so just with my athletic ability, everything that I did on the basketball court, that translated to football. And that's how I became, better at the position,
Right.
along with just the position coaches that I had that instilled in me. They saw the potential in which I was drafted with, and they kept telling me, like, man, you could be
Right.
a great one day.
Right.
You could be just like Jerry, or you could be better than Jerry. And then I found myself trying to emulate and do everything that Jerry did, but I had to realize and be a realist and like, I'm not Jerry.
Right.
Where our body types are totally different.
Correct.
He's a finesse, more, route
Precision
crisp
route runner.
route
Yeah.
runner. For me, I was physical, I was rugged, I was raw. I had to fine tune my game every year,
Right.
all the way to year 15.
You made some headlines saying that someone reached out to you and said, you know what, TL, stay in shape. We might give you a call.
Right.
You just had a birthday. You're 47 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't played in a decade. If somebody seriously called you to come, okay, TL, we're going to give you a workout. And if you perform like you believe you can, we're going to give you an opportunity. Would you take it?
Absolutely. I mean, I've always said, even just the way that I departed and not being able to really end on my
On
own
your terms.
You know how that is. I mean, and for me, it's so crazy because I've had coaches and even players that have been in position at the end of their careers that wanted opportunities,
Right.
black and white. And for me to be in the situation and see who I am and see what I'm made of, see what I look like, it's perplexing to me that they wouldn't go to bat or be like, oh, I played with this guy. I know what he's made of. If anybody can do it, he can do it. And what's so funny is like you hear I read the headlines. It's like, oh, Terrell Owens claims somebody. First of all, I'm telling the truth. I don't have to claim anything. I don't know how you interpret that.
Right.
But it almost seems like I'm lying or I'm just making it up.
Right.
Dude, I don't have to lie about anything. I can show you text. Owner approached me. They approached me. I didn't
Right.
actively go.
Yeah, tell that story.
Yeah, so I haven't actively went out and got an agent and sought and tried to play in the league.
Okay.
Owner approached me. He saw me through a friend of mine. Went to a restaurant, and he said, "Oh, such and such is the owner. Such and such is in here." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I know him. I've met him before."
Right.
And so I reintroduced myself, and so we're just talking, just casually. And so he looked at me. He goes, "Man, it looks like you can still play." And I said, so and so. I said, "It's not like I can't play." I said, "Under the right circumstances, given the opportunity," I said, "I probably could play." I said, "You think about third down situation." As an owner, he knows what I'm talking about.
Right.
Third down, red zone, and I go through the season, I get myself in shape. There's no doubt. He said, "Okay, cool." I went back to my table. 5-10 minutes later, the owner of the restaurant comes back by and he goes, "Yo," he said, "he just asked me, is T.O. serious?" And I looked at him, I was like, "Is he serious? He's the one that asked me."
Right.
So that's where it all started. And so he's like, "All right, cool." So on my way out, I saw him again. He's like, "Look, I'm gonna talk to the head coach. I gave him my number. He said, I get back in touch with you." I was at the hotel like the next day. I'm getting ready to leave. Phone rang. I missed the call. Call right back. It was the head coach. He goes, "Oh, I hear you talk to the owner, blah, 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 blah." Yes, I talked to him. He's like, what do you got going on? I said, "Yo," he said, "I look like I can play." And I said, "Coach, he knows who I am. He knows what I'm made of." I said, "Coach, third down, red zone." I said, "As the season rolls on, obviously you can use me. However, there's no doubt I can't play." He said, "All right, cool. I'm going to talk to the general manager, blah, blah, blah." So then he talked to the general manager, and at some point, the general manager texts my old phone, which I hadn't used in I don't know how long, and I just so happened that I'm back in Florida. I plugged the phone up. I see a message from the general manager like 3 weeks ago. They had asked me to come in to speak to the young receivers.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of got nervous. I'm like, man, did I miss my opportunity?
Right.
So I reached back out to him. I said, "Yo, this is Terrell. You reached out to an old phone." And then I said, "I saw you asked me about coming and talking." I said, "Yeah, I would have loved to." So I didn't know if that was a way of them bringing me in to work me out,
Right.
as well as talk to receivers. And so, long story short, Shannon, ended up talking to the general manager maybe a couple of weeks after that. Actually, on my way back from Jackson State, I had gone to Dion's camp. I had ran routes. And
Right. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And so I talked to him, and so he was like, "Yo." So it was mixed signals,
Right.
mixed messages, because the owner's telling me one thing. Basically, the head coach basically kind of stepped back and he's like, "Okay, now it's general manager, owner."
Right.
So it was little kind of just wind taken out of my sail, because the information I got from the general manager wasn't what the
What the
owner
owner's saying.
So I got kind of discouraged because at this point, Shannon, I've been working out about 3-4 weeks.
Right.
I'm grinding.
Right.
Going to my PT, I'm giving me everything.
Right.
And so I talk. So then I'm kind of frustrated. I call one of my receiver coaches, who's now a head coach, and I tell him about it. And he could tell, he's like, T, he's like, I can tell in your voice. He said, you ready? Mm-hmm. He said, I know you're serious about it. And I said, yeah. I said, he approached me about it.
Right.
So he said, this is what I do. He said, this is what I advise you to do. He said, reach out back to him and see what he says.
Right.
So I called, text the owner, and I said, look, I texted him. I said, look, I just want to know. I said, just give me a call. Let's talk about this man to man. I said, because I've been working out, training, blah, 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 blah. I don't want this to be just for nothing.
Your time.
Talked to him, and he said, look, and I said, I know you're the owner. And I said, no, you got people, in place to do their job. And I said, at the end of the day, I know they don't want to overstep. You don't want to overstep your bounds. I said, but you're the owner of the team. I said, at the end of the day, you're the owner.
You final say.
Right. So he said, look, Terrell, he said, I'm going to talk to coach, this and another. He said, just keep doing what you're doing. And that's what I'm banking on. Okay. So at the end of the day, like I said, I get discouraged when I hear people like yourself say that what he can't do it. Back when we were talking earlier, you can't say I can't do it because you haven't seen it done. If you haven't seen me do it, you can't discount me or counsel me and say I can't do it. At the end of the day, nobody plays the game to get hit.
No.
You know what I mean? But like I said, I get it.
Your spidey senses, though, T.O., your spidey senses went away. Because
but you can get those things back in tune. Like I said, it's not an overnight. I've been training.
Right.
It ain't like I just been sitting on the couch now. I'm just jumping.
No. I know you. That ain't your makeup.
Right.
I'm not even worried.
I've been.
It wasn't for me. It's not about shape because I know you've been training. I know you've been running. For me, it's about being away from the game for over a decade.
I mean, Tim Tebow got an opportunity. He's been away. Granted, he may be young, but it doesn't matter.
You better not go out there and do that.
Come on, come on, Shane. You already know better than that. Come on, Shane. I could have played tight end and gave a little bit better effort than what that was. Come on now. I'm not built like that.
You're gonna come back and play
a position that
I'm familiar with.
Exactly. That's where I feel like he was at a disadvantage, and I think that's where the hoopla was that he's been given preferential treatment because it's privilege.
Right.
That's where that conversation was at with that. But for me, trust me.
I hope you get the opportunity. I want to see it.
But that's where people in your position.
I want to see it now. You got me convinced that you could do it. So I want to see it.
Hey,
I want to see it now.
At the end of the day, man, like I said, that's why, like I said, I put in the video. The guys that have been helping me. Like I said, I haven't told anybody. Like everybody just been wondering, okay, why is these videos?
Why
popping?
you working like this? All
right?
Of a sudden?
Yeah, exactly. The owner approached me.
You want 15, 20 plays a game. That's it. Third down, couple of red zone snap.
Wherever I can help a team, trust me, my knowledge of the game is what's going to separate me from the others or anybody else.
Right.
And I want to be able to help groom some of those guys that, people say that, resemble my play, my build, whatever, or just, expand their knowledge.
But you want to go to a situation where you could possibly win. Now,
right,
you don't just want to go to some team.
Right, exactly. But I mean, like I said, there are some teams I'm sure that's on the cusp. They may, like I said, I still feel like I could be an X factor.
You believe you can help put a team over the top?
I do feel like yeah. What did really AB do this year? Last year with the Buccaneers? What really? Not to take.
You can do that.
What did he really do?
I mean, AB.
Look at his stat. Look what is his stats? Somebody give me his stats.
I think AB in 8 games
and I'm not
had 43 catches for about like 500 yards. I think 500 yards.
So you trying to say that I can't do that?
AB is 33, 34.
When I was 37, they had guys 10 years younger than me. They said I was over the hill. It don't matter. What you know the definition of faith. Come on now. You just told me a while ago. And this is why I get discouraged, because you have a platform. Because people hear what you have to say. They listen to your voice.
Man, you want to go out there, man. T.O., you've accomplished everything.
But if I can still do it, and I can do it. Trust me, man. This is not me just, man. I might be one of the best athletes the world probably has never really ever seen.
I'm not gonna deny that. I've seen you hoop. I know you can play. You can. I mean, anything you set your mind to, you could do. That's why you became who you became.
Right.
Because you set your mind and says, okay, or I can be better. Oh, Jerry, I can do that. I can be better than Jerry.
Bro, trust me, man. You just need to. The guys that work me out, they trip out at the things that I've done, and they know who I am, and they've seen my highlights. Dude, just with my work ethic, dude, trust me.
I want to see it now. I hope they call you. I hope they call you. I hope they call you. That's gonna be the first topic. When you go there, that's gonna be our first topic the next day.
I like the way you said it. Now you're starting to speak things into existence. I like this.
When you go back, that's gonna be our first topic.
I like that, Shannon. I like that, Shannon.
You my dog. You always have been, always will be, bro. You know I got you. Let's get to current receivers. Who reminds
Julio?
I was gonna say, what receiver reminds T.O. of T.O.?
Julio. I mean, obviously you got DK Metcalf.
DK.
He's young. He's evolving.
Yeah.
He's still young.
Right.
You see the potential there.
What about A.J. Brown? I don't think he's as fast as you, though, T.
He's coming on too.
Yeah.
He's definitely making some noise. Like I said, these are guys, like I said.
He about to take that next step with
Right,
Julio.
exactly. So it's going to be consistency with these young guys. When you start, we get into discussion about these guys. They're not even in, played 5 years yet.
Right.
And they start talking about Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's consistency. That's
Right.
how you get into the Hall of Fame. It's
Right.
just your body of work.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody always bring up Odell Beckham Jr. Tremendous talent. He made that one catch. We're in the age of social media. It went wild for everybody knows.
Right.
People over in China probably know who Odell is.
Right.
But in order for him to make those leaps and bounds, it's going to be consistency.
Right.
And as you've seen, like, injuries are a part of the game. He's had one injury. He's going to rebound from that. Now let's pick up from where he left off, where he was playing on with the Giants. So for all these guys that that have the A.J. Browns, the DJ K Metcalfs, Devontae Adams, these guys, they are on their way. They are paving their way to Canton.
Who's the best receiver in the game right now? You get one. The best receiver right now.
Boy,
General manager come to you and say, T.O.
I got to go with Julio. It's either him or Antonio Brown. No matter what I'm taking the trouble stuff that I'm leaving out. It's just like the Hall of Fame.
Right.
I have to leave that off.
Okay.
Before all of this stuff happened.
Yeah.
Who was Antonio Brown with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah. Oh, he was special.
Okay.
He was special. No question.
So now you see where I take, like I said, the outside stuff I separated.
Okay.
Antonio Brown, before all of this, he was one of the top receivers before all this stuff started going on. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree.
Okay, so that's
I mean, the dude was averaging probably 130 catches, probably 1,500 yards,
and
12, 13 touchdowns.
And that's how I see it.
But sometimes he didn't realize how good he had it in Pittsburgh.
I talked to Antonio Brown when all that stuff was going on, and I got where he came. I got where he was coming from with our conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Being a 6th-round pick, coming from a small college, establishing and building really the statue of a person and player and the caliber of person that he was becoming. He saw for so many years the star treatment that the quarterback was getting.
Yeah.
And he wasn't getting it. But he was doing equal. He was just as important. He felt as important.
Why didn't you tell him, say, you're never going to get the treatment the quarterback
Bro,
gets?
trust me. I said, we had conversations, and I said, whatever your issues are, I said, bro, he was like, what should I said, dude, you know being better than I do.
Right.
You've been there for 9 years or whatever. You should have some type of rapport with him to pull him to the side. You say y'all kids, Y'all had dinners, wives go out to. I can't tell you. You've been there. You should know how to approach him to have that conversation, because if there was something said slight in an interview that you felt was wrong or whatever, you should
go
have.
to him. Yeah, absolutely.
And that was my advice to him.
Because I mean,
That was
Rod
my
throwing
advice.
you 130 passes a year. I mean, he throwing you 180, 190 targets a year. You getting 1,500, 1,700 yards.
Yeah, but he felt like he wasn't getting that star treatment.
T.O., you know you don't get that to the quarterbacks there.
I get it, dude. I mean, we all go through it. I mean, I went through it to an extent.
Man, I used to see John not practicing. I'm like, man, I can't wait to get to a certain age and I won't have to practice.
Right.
Oh well, sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't.
Right.
TD was the same way. TD didn't have to practice. I'm like, okay, it is what
it is.
migraines
and stuff like that.
But see, that where players get the problem, you start judging off of what somebody else is getting or what somebody else is doing.
Yeah.
And that's what gets you in trouble.
For me, I didn't have that problem. I liked to work. It didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
My coaches had to tell me not to practice.
Right. Because I need to work on my craft.
Right.
Like these guys not playing in preseason. T.O., I needed preseason.
Right. But outside of that, this is the problem that I had was how I was being treated by my coach in certain situations.
You weren't worried about what Steve got treated like this,
Man,
or Jeff got treated like that. No, just treat me like I'm a human being.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, at some point, treat me like the star that I am. And I know that there's going to be some tears of treatment as, as guys, get better and as they establish their careers. But I didn't, trust me, bro.
They treat you like you was a rookie.
Trust me, man. My coaches even told me stuff, man. So, yeah.
Prime T.O. racing a prime DK Metcalf. Who wins?
I saw DK run.
That's a big man. He running.
Hey, I saw DK
I didn't want to say that, but he was running. T.O.
Yeah, but if you look at some of my highlights, bro, I'm telling you, I wasn't known for my speed, but there are some highlights where I've come from the backside all the way just to spring my guys. Hey,
you talking about the Garrison Hurst against New York, the Jets?
Hey, I got some jets, Shannon. Trust me. I just look like this. I try to tell people, I just look like this. I can cover some ground. I can ask Julio. I can slide. I can slide, Shannon. I can slide.
They've been talking, going back and forth on social media. Usain Bolt and Tyreek Hill.
Man, he need to stop. Man, they need to drug test Tyreek Hill.
Hold on, the football player. 40 yards. 40 yards. Gold medal versus Super Bowl ring.
Man,
who you money on, T.O.?
After that statement, I'm surprised he hasn't gotten drug tested about 3 or 4 or 5 times. I'm surprised he hadn't gone to the media and talking about he done got drug tested. He's tired of getting drug tested. Because he ain't right.
You don't think Tyreek in a 40, not a 70, because Usain is suggesting they run 70 meters. Tyreek says 40. A 40-yard dash. You don't think Tyreek can get it?
He might. It'll be close. I said it'll be close.
In the 40.
It'll be close.
Not no 70. He can't touch him in the 70.
He can cancel Christmas if he think he will. Hey, I don't care what he put at that 70-yard line, that 70 meter on that line. He can put 80 million and he ain't finna get there before Usain Bolt get there. No, sir. No, sirree, Bobby Jimmy.
You raced Tyreek a couple of years ago.
Like a year, mm-hmm.
Is Reek the fastest
He's
player?
quick. He's quick. He's quick and fast.
Yeah.
He's quick and fast.
I've never seen anybody accelerate like him.
No, absolutely.
I've seen some guys. I was in the league when Sam Grady won the silver medal in the '84 Olympics. I was in the league with him. Mervin Fernandez, James Jett was on the relay team that won the gold medal in '92. So I've seen some guys run.
Dion.
Oh yeah,
Dion can.
People don't realize how fast.
Man, I'm telling you, he don't look, man.
If you play against DG Darrell Green. Darrell Green can run too.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
Darrell Green can run.
Yeah.
Ron Brown who also was in the Olympics in I think '84. I think he won the bronze. He might have won the bronze medal. I think he might have swept the medals that year, or it might have been '88 that he won the bronze. So I've seen some guys, but I don't know if I've ever seen anybody accelerate like Reek.
You can see it.
Yes.
When you're watching the game, you can see the acceleration.
Yes.
And there's such a distinctive difference in the speed in which he runs that it's obvious.
Right. Because those guys are track guys that happen to play football. Tyreek is a football player that has legit track speed.
And I know there's been some back and forth with Marquise Goodwin and all these guys are supposed to be fast. Hey, all I know, the guy's quick. He's cat quick, and he's
And people don't realize he put together. He ain't got no friend. Because track guys are afraid. They were 160.
You talk about a pound for pound.
Yeah. No, ain't nobody close to that.
That's what I'm saying. A pound for pound receiver, that's him. You talk about a pound for pound boxer, that's Tyreek.
In your year, did y'all have scrimmages when you were in training camp? Did y'all play scrimmage against other teams?
Yep.
I don't know if you saw AB get into a fight the other day.
Yeah, I saw, yeah.
Did you see the Cleveland situation today?
No.
Cleveland and the Giants.
No, I didn't. I don't really watch football like that. I don't.
T.O., check this out. The practice is over. The field cleared. They come back out there. Sterling Shepard on the DB and try to throw blows after the practice.
So they organized the.
And they would say, hey, don't worry about this here. After practice, because the coach told him he didn't want to have no more fighting during practice. And they hold that. After practice,
so they found a loophole.
After practice, let's go see me. Till they take it. Look,
they took matters into their own hands. I've never heard of that. I mean, you hear guys like basketball, like they go to the showers and they catch them going to the bus and they'll see
what's up.
Yeah, but this.
Did you ever get into it, tussle in a practice?
No, I was probably too tired to do all of that.
See, that's what I said. Hold on, if you got all the energy to practice, all the energy to fight, you ain't practicing hard enough.
I was trying to perfect my craft.
Right.
Man. I was just trying to be the best, number one receiver wherever I tried to be the best, and my practice habits that I've always been a work type of guy.
Right.
My work ethic was always there.
Right.
And then that's why when I got to the Niners, everybody saw the similarities in Jerry, but Jerry always wanted to be a receiver.
Right.
That was his passion.
Right.
For me, I just kind of adopted, and tried to enhance upon what my potentials were. And I became better. And then, like I said, I in order to be good at something, you gotta work
at it. Absolutely.
And so that's what it was doing. I was molding myself to become sort of like the best receiver that I could be.
Right.
Taking everything that that I could around me, even from other receivers that came, free agents. I watched slot guys. I watched how they got open.
Right.
Even the slow white guys that would get open. I'm like, how are these guys getting open?
Right.
There was something about it,
Right.
about their ability that would make them get open.
Right.
So I would watch them. I would watch all different types of guys. If you were drafted in the first, second, third, fourth round, it don't matter. I watched how you ran routes and how you got open.
Do you wish they had social media?
Oh my God, boy, I would be a star, boy. People already know me, but I would be a megastar. Like, I would have millions of followers, no doubt. Myself and Chad, the way that we entertain and how we engage with the fans, and I'm not saying it as to be arrogant, but just how we entertain and how we are very charismatic. And I understand the entertainment, I understand the business of the game, and so how we intertwine and how we engage with just the fans, and now with social media, it would be crazy.
Would you be going back and forth? Because a lot of times we see a guy on the offense or the defense, or we see guys. Would you be going back and forth?
Man, I would probably have one caption for them all week. Get your popcorn ready. That's all I would probably have to say.
Right.
And I said it. I said it on the sideline. Like, people think that I talk trash.
Right.
And when I tell you, like, what yes, you did. If you think about the highlights that you've seen, you've never seen me on the field going back and forth.
Right.
It's always been on the sideline when I'm talking to, because I know the camera's on me.
Right.
Even when we were warming up.
Right.
I remember with the Cowboys, my mama Mama, they got these cameras on me. I knew what I was doing.
Right.
And I wanted to engage. I wanted to have fun with the game. And that's what I miss really now. Like, I wish I would have had more fun.
Right.
With the game. But it was just, I was so concentrated on really just becoming, just honing on, just like, I had that relentless pursuit of just trying to be as good as I wanted
Would
to
you
be.
be TikToking like Juju?
Nah. I mean, if you're going to TikTok, you got to back it up. Hey, if you're going to TikTok, you got to back it up.
Man, you see they knocked the stuff out of Juju.
And that's what made it so bad.
Corvette got it. Man, that thing
Because he was doing all of that pregame. It was premeditated, but then you can't back it up. It looks embarrassing.
It does.
So, I mean, like I said, everybody, I mean, they think they want it. They think they want that line.
Everybody think they're number one.
Right.
When number one getting all the coverage. He getting the number one DB.
Right.
The defensive coordinator staying up late at night trying to come up with schemes to disguise a way to roll coverage your way and take you away. And you just getting the third DB, you getting the fourth DB, and you put a number like, man, I'm that dog.
Right, because it's your numbers are skewed.
Yes.
They're legit, but it's skewed because you have to look at how you got those numbers.
And then as soon as you get Pat P, and you get Jair Alexander, you get Marshawn Lattimore, and you get those top dogs, you get Jalen Ramsey, you get Stephon Gilmore, all of a sudden.
The sign of a good receiver on a like you got to do it with and without.
Yeah.
And you got to create, make plays, double team, make plays,
it
doesn't
matter.
I remember talking to AB, he was frustrated. I said, AB, you can't be so consumed about what he's not doing or if the balls are not coming your way. I said, bro, make the most of the balls that come.
That's it.
And that's what he started doing because he was struggling because he felt like they were going away from him. They were intentionally going away from him, feeding Juju.
Right.
And he was open, and rightfully so sometimes.
Right.
But I said, dude, that's something you can't, you're going to lose that battle.
That's it.
I said, dude, just make the most of when those balls come your way. And that's what he started doing. He started taking a little going to the house.
That's what you got to do, though, T.O.
Yeah.
I got the name Big Play Shay because once I got to Baltimore, I wasn't getting featured like I was in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get one play a game to the house I'm going.
And then over time, the offensive coordinator, they're going to be like, we got to give this guy more balls.
What's your favorite dance? The pom-pom, the signing, the dancing with the cheerleaders, get the popcorn.
No, I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna do Ray like that. No, but I had fun that week. I had fun that week doing that. But now the best, I think the most creative probably was me signing the Sharpie.
The Sharpie in Seattle.
And then impromptu was like the popcorn at the back of I catch the ball at the back of the end zone.
Right.
And the fans was right there, and I just saw the popcorn. And, you see the picture with me. And then obviously the most probably talked about me going to the Star.
Yeah.
But I mean, man,
can you imagine?
Oh man, I'm telling you.
Imagine if you put that up. If you had Instagram and you had Twitter back.
Bro, I'm telling you.
That thing got 10 million likes.
Bro, you think Kim Kardashian breaking the internet? Man, it wouldn't be. It'll be something awful. Yeah.
A few months back, one of your best friends did celebrity boxing. We've seen Nate Robinson do it.
You sure he did it?
Well, okay.
He attempted.
Yeah, he attempted. Nate Robinson, Chad Ochocinco, you and Ochocinco, very good friends.
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing a celebrity boxing match?
Well, let's just talk about his performance.
Okay, let's talk about his performance.
I commended him on what he did.
Right.
And honestly, like I wasn't too nervous. I just didn't want him to go in there and not take it serious.
Right. Oh yeah, because you can get hurt.
Because I know how he is, and I know he's a showman.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he was going against a bare knuckle fighter.
But he's going against somebody that actually fights. This ain't no celebrity.
Right. Yeah. So when I went to the arena and I saw him, and as soon as I saw him, I'm like, okay, this is for real.
Right.
So I went in there. I went in the arena. And I was like, man, my dog about to go in here.
About to do this.
Yeah. And so I went to the dressing room and I saw him. He was in there hitting the back. Pop, 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 pop. I was like, oh, but this is real. No, I'm talking about, it got me kind of like, ooh. So I'm like, man, this is real. So when I saw him, I said, hey, first thing I said, yo, respect the sport.
Oh, you obvious.
That was,
absolutely.
Because I wanted, when I was driving down there, I'm like, well, what can I say? You know what I mean? That he hasn't heard from anybody. that was the thing that came to my mind. Respect the sport. 'Cause I'm like, man, I remember what Nate Robinson did. Like, we saw what boxers that has, the beating and everything that
Because even some of the best boxers
right
make one mistake
right
and it's curtains. So obviously you don't know all the intricacies of a box. You throw the punch, get your hands
Right.
back up. A lot of people keep their hands down.
right yeah. So that was the first thing, but I had confidence because I know Chad has been training, he's done
Right.
some stuff, but not to the point of okay, he's really getting in the
Getting
ring.
it right.
So like I said, that was my first words to him, was like respect the sport, and so man, he did a tremendous job. Went 4 rounds, and he got grazed a little bit, but he got right back up.
Right.
But talking, he said that was the toughest 8 minutes of his life, because you got to be in tip top.
You don't, yeah. That the people don't understand, because when I first got out here, I did some boxing. I didn't spar anything like that, but just hitting the mitts, hitting the bag, just.
It's like a full body workout. It's like swimming or diving. Like,
And because the first thing when you get tired, you drop your arm.
your hand, and that's
and guess what?
All this is exposed. All this right here is exposed. And if you got somebody that's in shape, that condition, woo boy.
Did your jaw?
This is canvas. This is canvas, and they finna paint a picture.
You start breathing heavy, you start breathing out your mouth,
Right.
your mouth open, and then the jaw is loose, and then boom, there you go, face down.
Right. But
Okay, I get Ocho Cinco. He did great. I'm talking about you. What you gonna do?
So I think maybe a week or so after that, I'm at home. I get a text. I'm in Florida about 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
It's Brandon Marshall.
Yeah.
The one that wants to race me too. So he texts me out of the blue and he goes, "Yo, dude, you want to fight me for $2 million?" And I'm thinking he's just joking.
Right.
So my response is, because he already done backed out of 2 races.
Right.
And I'm not really taking him serious at this point. So my response to him, Shannon, I said, "I'll knock your ass out for an extra $2 million." And I was that serious based on the other stuff. Because I'm like, bro, he done had me training the race and all this other stuff, and I keep backing out.
Back it out.
Putting money up, this and that and the other. So that was my response. I said, "Bro, I'll knock your ass out for an extra $2 million." He goes, No, I'm serious. I'm sitting here, I'm talking with the CEO of Triller. And he was like, he said, "You want to do it or not?" I said, "You know where I am, man. If you serious," I said, "just let me know." So he said, "We're thinking about doing it in November." So long story short, I haven't heard from him since.
But B Mars box for real though.
But I'm not finna just train. I've already been training and doing all this other stuff, and he ain't.
But you got to go get a real boxing trainer.
No. The people that train Chad,
right?
They saw, because that's the first thing that people they was asking me when I was ringside.
Right.
I had people asking, "T.O., you next, and then I had one guy that's like, "Yo, this is gonna be fun." It was like, if you had to fight her, who would you want to fight? I said Donovan McNabb. and I'm dead serious. Shannon, I'll knock him out. Because there'd be so much
But you can't do that. But see, no.
I would go in there. I know I'll be controlled.
Right.
It'll be controlled anger. I'll be like a Navy SEAL. I'll be a Navy SEAL because they cool under all conditions, but there will be a fire burning inside of me.
So you literally try to knock the man out.
Clean out. I knock chunky soup from him. from 2004. Trust me. All the heartache, the heartache and all the stuff that I done went through. Being a nice, and me trying to be the nice guy. That's me being a nice guy.
I know you, and I know you dead ass serious.
Shannon, I promise you. And I know, like, going in there, you can't just go in there and just reckless abandon.
No.
You gotta be strategic.
Relaxed. Yes.
You gotta be strategic. Everything.
Walk him into something.
But trust me, believe me, that will be my intent.
Man, you take this seriously when you play football.
Absolutely, because football really was a hobby.
Right.
Just think if I would have prioritized it. If I was like Jerry,
right,
growing up and wanting to play football. This, give me the proper training. Like I talked to some of his trainers. He's like, "Yo, if you're really serious, blah blah blah, just let me know." So, you know, like I said, it hasn't come up. I'm not finna just do no unnecessary, but I may just start taking some lessons just to
Right.
kind of
Yeah,
familiarize myself.
1, 2,
Because
3,
somebody
4.
like me, bro, I'll be like Roy Jones. I'll be like Roy Jones. I'll be an entertainer, but you got to be smart in that too at the same time.
Absolutely.
Trust me. Trust me. But like I said, we
You
haven't.
know, somebody.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Somebody gonna go proposition you about fighting. You know.
No. I mean, they have. It's been some people. Zab Judah and some other guy didn't reach in my DM and doing some celebrity.
Hell no, them real boxers.
I know, but like I said, it's been like celebrity stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I just haven't really. Like I said, it wasn't really on my radar at that time.
Yeah.
Like I said, if it wasn't really about the money, like if it, I'm like, oh yeah. But that's not really.
But you fighting for $2 million.
Yeah, so that was a number that.
Well, how much did it take you to fight Donovan?
A can of potted meat and some crackers. Can of potted meat and some crackers. And a bottle of 81. On the way out. And a bottle of 81 on the way out.
It started off so well in San Fran, and you were going to be the heir apparent. You were going to be.
Well, I didn't know I wasn't going to be the heir apparent. They were looking at J.J. Stokes to be
right.
the heir
Well, yeah,
apparent.
they drafted him number 1 overall with the first round draft pick.
Right.
But when you look at it, and you have Steve, you go to Jeff. Obviously, Jeff is not Steve Young. Steve is in the Hall of Fame, but Jeff was a very good quarterback. Jeff made several Pro Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in San Francisco? How did it go so bad so quickly? You supposed to spend 15 there.
I think the coaching staff there. When I say coaching staff, I'm talking mainly probably Coach Mariucci.
Mm-hmm.
They saw probably the fast involvement of my game.
Right.
I became a little bit more of a personality, charismatic. Because the first few years, I was just learning the position. I was quiet.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was just trying to find my way.
Right.
And then, confidence is everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, I had this defense mechanism, a chip on my shoulder, in a sense. And then, things just started to unfold. And, I felt like I was being treated differently by Coach Mariucci versus some other coach. That was some things that happened, during my time there. That I had to go and address it to Bill Walsh because I felt like I was just being treated differently, and I think that's where things kind of just fell off the tracks there.
You had a personality, but because Jerry's there, Steve's there, you're trying to find your footing, trying to find your niche.
Mm-hmm.
Now all of a sudden, okay, I belong here.
Yeah.
Not only do I belong here, I can be the man here.
Right.
So now you have the confidence. So now I can really show the real T.O. I don't have to be quiet. I don't have to be, aloof. I can let people see my real personality. Let everybody see who the real Terrell Owens is.
Yeah, because that was how people saw me, and I was characterized. I was described. When media talked to my teammates, a lot of them said I was quiet. I was aloof.
Right.
I was standoffish, and that was the farthest from the truth. That's how I grew up, in a household where, I was raised by my grandmother, didn't really get to interact. So it's sort of like I was socially awkward in a bit.
Right.
But if you ask my teammates, with every team, they would tell you, I'm a joy to be around. I like to have fun.
What the T.O. in the locker room was different than the T.O. that the media got an opportunity to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when the media came and they asked certain individuals, and then maybe some people didn't like me.
Right.
And they gave them a different version of what somebody else would say. And they took that and they ran with it.
Why didn't they ask? It's hard for me to believe that in the locker room of 53 guys, only the guys that ever got interviewed were the guys that didn't dislike you, that disliked you. Why weren't some of the guys that it's hard for me to believe that. So in every locker room this man went in, nobody liked him?
Right, exactly. But
because all I hear about is the guys that he did this and he did that.
Well, I mean, I became sort of like a villain in a sense. It became a negative thing when it came to Terrell Owens.
Right.
And I think if you look at, obviously being inducted into the Hall of Fame, those were some of the things that they kept bringing up.
Right.
Was character issues. But I'm not a bad person.
But the character issue was never an issue before.
Exactly.
Do you realize how special you got to be when people are willing to change the bylaws? You realize they wrote new rules that what happened in the locker room, what happened in the meeting rooms, what happened on the sidelines could be used to judge a player going into the Hall of Fame. Do you realize that you did that? That's the TO rules?
Hey, man, like I said, God put us all here for a reason. Again, even that situation, you think about the horse collar rule, I was part of that.
Yep.
You think about the touchdown celebrations, I was part of that.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I can't put my finger or pulse on why that is.
Right.
But those were the cards that I was dealt. And I honestly, I felt unfairly treated. I felt unfairly criticized at times because of how certain medias, they add certain people and then they go on the air and every outlet picked it up. And then without even knowing me, they're just going by what everybody else is saying. And so they've created this narrative. And again, Skip started it. And then it kind of just trickled, it was a trickle down effect. What
happened with, it seems like you said Coach Mariucci, you felt that he started to treat you differently. But I think your position coach, Greg Knapp was your first position coach?
He was
off his OC in San Fran.
Yeah, I think he was a quarterback coach or something. Yeah. But he wasn't. George Stewart was my
George
position.
Stewart was your position coach.
And prior to that, it was Larry Kirksey.
Okay.
So, like I said, there were things, man, that I witnessed, and like I said, when you talk about it now, it's we've gone through a year of systemic racism and things of that nature. Just as a country as a whole, we witnessed things, but I can definitely go back and say now what I experienced. Obviously, it was systemic racism, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'll say it to him, but I was treated, definitely differently than
so
some.
Mooch, Steve Mariucci.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. What about Greg Knapp? Because
we had some disagreements. Again, that's just like with anybody. You know what I mean? Any coach, any player, there's going to be arguments. There's going to be disagreements.
Right.
But at the end of the day, Jerry's cursed out or did worse than what I did. But like I said, when it came to me, because
they only picked up the negativity.
Right.
Did you try to sit down and talk to Mooch? Did you say, Mooch, that's what everybody called him.
Right.
Mooch. Steve, Mooch, this is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling that I'm being singled out. I feel like if I do something, you harp on it, where someone else does something, you let it slide.
It was the things that I experienced, it was obvious to the point that I went to Bill Walsh.
So you went above Mooch.
Right, because I didn't feel like I was going to get anywhere.
Okay.
Obviously there were fines and things of that nature. You have a fine coach. Again, like I said, even with those, I was treated differently. Somebody else would be given the benefit of buying the team lunch or taking the fine.
Right.
He didn't give me that option.
Right.
I just got the fine.
Right.
And so there were things that from the touchdown celebration of me going to the Dallas Star.
Right.
There was no rule against what I did. Monday morning quarterback, that's all that was going on throughout the course of the week. They were talking about that.
Right.
The league didn't suspend me. He was pressured by the media to suspend me.
Hold on. You got suspended for that?
Yes, sir.
Hey, hold
yes,
on.
sir. Yes, sir.
What about it? So what did the union say? They can't. That wasn't a rule for that. They can't just suspend.
Yes, sir. I got suspended.
So what? Let me guess. Conduct detrimental.
Bro, I have no idea. All I know is I got suspended, and then I found this out years later. I went to Atlanta.
Right.
And I don't do politics, so he tried to play the political, role. And so he reached out. I mean, he talked to my coach, and I found this out years later. He wanted to try to make it look like he and I was on good terms with the media, that he wanted me to fly back from Atlanta and go to a San Jose Sharks game and be in the stands and have the media, paying
the
crowd
camera, you and him together.
Yeah, like we were cool. And my coach he was like, I'm not calling him because I know T.O. is not gonna go. He's not gonna go for that.
No.
And so these are little things like that, man,
Right.
that didn't really set well with me. Just like I said, I went to the middle of the Star when I discussed it with him, or when he gave his feedback on what happened or his assessment of what happened. He said he didn't even see me go to the Star. He has a bird's eye view, just like
He had a coach.
Yeah, he said he didn't even see me go to the Star. So these are sort of things, man, like I said, that I had to go through. And it is what it, even with my contract, I had been there longer than Jeff Garcia. There's no knock on him. I feel like I was the second, like I said, the second coming of Jerry Rice. I was looked upon to fill his shoes. They dragged my contract negotiation, Shannon, out the entire summer. The entire summer. Jeff Garcia plays maybe, I think, 2 years backing up Steve Young, plays a couple of years. His contract year is up. Took them 2 weeks. 2 weeks and they got his deal done. So for me, it let me know and it showed, okay, he's more important than me when
Because they don't value as much as you think they
exactly.
should.
I'm taking his balls 3, 4, 5 yards and taking it to the house. He's not throwing those 60, 70-yard bombs.
Right.
But that's part of my job. I get that.
Right.
But as you said, I felt like I was being undervalued. And even like my first contract that I had, I mean, you know, players don't get involved with players' contracts, this and that and the other.
Right.
I had a small time agent at the time. And when we were going through the negotiations, he came out and said that I wasn't worth the money that we were asking for.
Who said that?
Mooch. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. These are things that I experienced. So when I played throughout the course of the year, Steve Young will tell you, I played with a chip. And it wasn't because I was drafted a certain way, or it was because how I was being treated.
Right.
And me growing up in the South, my grandmother, she told me these are things that I was going to experience. I didn't know I was going to experience it in the National Football League, but just in life in general, and just as a black man.
Right.
And so to see it, I didn't speak on it. I didn't say on it. I just put my head down, Shannon. I worked every day, and I let my play do the speak for you. So even when Skip Bayless and everybody else jumped on the bandwagons of all the things that happened throughout the course of the season, it was a topic throughout the course of the week, I knew all I had to do is play, because I wasn't going to allow anything that they say to deter or distract what I was supposed to do, not from a personal standpoint, because I needed to produce, and then I'm not gonna do anything to hinder or the progression of what we're supposed to do on the offense, and as a team.
How did you and Jeff's, because you and Jeff was arguably the best tandem quarterback wide receiver combo in the NFL.
Right.
How did that go so wrong so quick?
I did an interview, and obviously, like I said, I look back, and I should have chosen some other words, and that kind of just I guess made things. I mean, kind of fractured it a bit. But I didn't, like I said, when I did the interview, I didn't really think about ramifications of what I was saying. But like I said, with Jeff, like, we catered our offense around his strengths.
Right.
He's a rollout type of guy.
Right.
He's a
put
tough
him on the move.
Right. He's a tough, gritty guy. He's not your, typical, prototypical drop back in the pocket passer. He's not your Tom Brady, your Peyton Manning. He's not that type of guy.
Right.
But our offense was tailored around his ability, and I adapted my game around what he had to do.
Right.
You're familiar with the West Coast offense.
I am very.
You talk about the scramble drill.
Yep.
I knew every position.
Relocate.
Everybody. If you look at some of my highlights, of course, you script plays, they don't go as planned all the time.
Right.
You got to improvise.
You were the X receiver.
I was X, Z,
zebra,
eagle.
Shannon, 20 personnel. Yep.
I became that much more valuable because
they
started me at one position.
Right.
I learned that.
Right.
And then probably a few weeks in the camp, coach like, oh, well, you need to learn this. Dude, it made me nervous.
Exactly.
I'm just learning this one. I'm just learning this position. And then he's like, yo, you need to learn Z. But then, like I said, I'm a visual person. And
right.
Coach Stewart, he'll tell you, I'm crazy visual. So that's when I started learning how to really incorporate and knowing what to do with the plays.
I'm the same way. Let me see somebody do it. And you explaining it to me, I need to see
right.
I need to actually see somebody do it.
Right.
Okay, so that's what it is. So that's what Z spot, that's what you want. X land, X comeback, X dig, X drive. Okay.
Then you can believe it.
Yeah.
You can believe it. Okay.
Yes.
Just remember what we just talked about. You got to see it to believe it.
Right.
Okay.
You move on, contracts up. You're supposed to, your agent's supposed to file the paperwork to make you a free agent.
Man, I'm mad. I'm still mad about that.
Your agent's supposed to file the paperwork so you become a free agent.
Yep.
He drops the ball.
Yep.
The Ravens says, okay, for whatever, I think the Ravens and San Francisco work out some kind of deal.
Yep.
But you don't want to go to Baltimore.
Right, and it had nothing to do with Baltimore itself, the team. I just felt like where I was in my career, the height of my career, I couldn't do what I was going to do or should be doing with the inexperienced quarterback.
Right.
So
you being nice, inexperienced, he wasn't very good. But anyway.
But I mean, that's how I am.
Yes.
You know, people would think that I would down talk somebody, but that's not who I am.
Okay.
I just looked at it as I need to find somebody to complement my skill set. And I didn't see that in a young guy like Cal Bowler.
What happened with, so how did your agent drop, how did he not go ahead and just file the paperwork at the beginning of the summer?
Exactly. And that's
why did he get to the last?
I have no, dude, trust me, I have no idea. And he tried to blame it on the guys, the people at the NFLPA, and I ended up talking to Gene Upshaw, God rest his soul. And I talked to him. I remember exactly where I was when I talked to him. I was off one of the exits in Atlanta in the parking lot where I get my hair cut. And I was on the phone with him, and he broke it down as to how my agent messed it up.
Dropped the ball.
Yep. And then my agent was trying to basically make me think it was their fault.
Right.
And then, that was when fax was, it wasn't no DocuSign or anything like that.
Right.
That's when you had to
with
fax.
No email, everything was fax.
Right. So he tried to blame it on, it didn't go through and all this, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like you said, I knew I wanted to become an unrestricted free agent so I could test the market.
Correct.
He should have done that immediately next day after the season ended.
Right.
And so I was a young kid. I wasn't even really thinking like that.
Right.
And that's where, again, we as athletes, we have people we hire to really take care of some of those things that we may not be aware of or thinking of on an everyday basis.
Okay. Somehow you get that worked out, you end up in Philly, which seems like a perfect situation because they got a proven quarterback. Yeah. They've been going to the NFC Championship game and they can't quite get over the hump. And at the time I was like, you know what? I believe this guy is the missing piece. I believe this is the guy that can finally get them over the hump.
Well, I made the Pro Bowl, and if you don't, when you get to the NFC Championship, if you don't make it,
the losing team coaches the Pro Bowl.
Right. So I made the Pro Bowl those couple of years. So that's how I got to play and meet some of the staff of the Philadelphia Eagles.
So Andy and Brad Childress.
Yep. So that's where, again, the idea of me possibly playing for their team.
And plus they had the West Coast offense, considering you had spent 7 years in the West Coast offense. So this was a match made. This was perfect.
Man, it was from day one, from the first preseason game.
You like this?
We played the Ravens. And guess how many yards my first touchdown went for? 81. The first play.
So you do that. You know what? This is a sign. God, you speaking to me.
Man,
ain't no way this supposed to happen like this.
I had no idea till years later. And I'm listening, I'm watching the highlights, and the announcer is like, man, this, he calls it, color commentator. He's breaking it down. I go out wide. Think it's like cover two. I try to disguise it. Man, I release inside, get back outside. They weren't even supposed to let me do that.
Right. No.
Right.
Once you go inside, they got to ride you down.
But because of the dynamic talent that I am, somehow I made it work. And I'm listening to the announcer, and he's like, "Man, this is a touchdown." He goes right down to the jersey number, and it was like 81. I'm like, "Man, that's crazy."
Because you had 3 touchdowns. That was the first game.
Well, that was the preseason
game.
Yeah. The first regular season game against the Giants.
Yeah.
I had 3 touchdowns.
So everything you're like, "Ooh, man, this thing going well. This thing going well."
Man.
And then what happened?
There was one game. I can't remember if we were playing the Giants or it may have been the Browns. But we had one particular play. Your game plan. You scripted throughout the course of the week. I ran some route, like a bench route, go in, get the safety to bite or the corner to bite, and I'm
over the top.
Dude, it's wide open every day in practice. I mean, even when we didn't have to script it, it was wide open. Mm-hmm. So we get in the game. This is my play. I run the route to a T, just like we've been running all week in practice, scripted, walkthrough.
DB bite. You like this money.
Shannon, left him, I'm wide open. I'm looking better. I'm looking for the ball. I'm like, I know this is a touchdown. He goes elsewhere with the football. So I get back in the huddle. Go back to the huddle. And I said, I was open. I said, what happened? He told me to shut the fuck up.
Hold on.
Bro,
you practice this play all week.
Yes, sir.
There's nothing like you practicing a play and it happens just like you drew it up.
Mm-hmm.
And you there like, oh, I'm about to get this money. And all you said, hey, bro,
I was open. I said, what happened? And he told me to shut the F up. Seriously. And so I didn't say anything because coming from San Francisco, I didn't want to make I didn't, you know what I mean? I already know what time it was. So I didn't want to create no animosity, no tension right there on the field. So when we came off that series, I went straight to my coach and I'm like, I said, because I didn't want to blame anybody.
Right.
I wanted to see what happened.
Right.
Let me see what happened.
Right.
Before I make any excuses.
Right.
So I asked the coach, I said, what happened? Did he get flushed out of the pocket? So I'm thinking that's
Right,
probably
he got
what.
flushed. Okay.
He looked at me, he goes, I don't know. He goes, Terrell, I don't know why he didn't throw it. He just didn't throw it.
Okay.
So I left it at that.
Did you go to him and like, D-Mac?
I waited till after the game.
Okay.
And so again, me knowing everything that had transpired, how I'm gonna be looked at as villain. I'm on a new team. I wasn't trying to ruffle the feathers. I'm trying to be the consummate teammate.
Mm-hmm.
So I let everybody kind of just filter out of the locker room, and there was like a few guys left, whatever. And I just went to him and I just said, look, bro, I said, I don't appreciate you, cussing at me. I said, bro, I'm a grown man.
Right.
And I said, from here on, man, don't talk to me that way. Oh, it's gonna be a problem.
Okay.
And so I felt like me addressing that in that way was a mature Terrell.
Yeah.
Because I could have went off on the football and out there in the middle of the field or when we got to the sideline, but I wasn't trying to do that.
You're trying to be on your best behavior.
Man, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf.
Okay.
So when he did, I just told him, I said, look, bro, don't address me that way.
Right.
I said, we're grown men. I got kids. Like that's not gonna happen.
Okay.
And so from there, I think that's where the wheels.
So when you said that, bro, don't address me like that. Hey,
I don't
I've
know
shown
what.
you.
I don't know. I honestly, I was so mad. I don't know what he said or if he said anything that really could have made a difference at that point. I just didn't like the tone, number one, and then for real, the way he came at me. My team, they was in the huddle. Mm-hmm. It was foul.
Right.
It was foul, and so things just kind of just fell off the tracks. From that point on.
After I'm sitting here listening to you talk, that was the one thing that I had. I don't mind being coached, but you can't curse me.
Man,
I won't let you say anything to me that my grandmother couldn't say, and she gave me everything but life. She raised me.
Yep.
So if she wouldn't say that to me, you can't coach me. Coach me hard. Say, son, what do you see? What do you see? Yeah. We practice that play. If I made a mistake, John said, hey, T, I need you to do better. Yeah, but don't curse me.
No, it wasn't just no curse, bro. It was demonstrative.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was just, trust me, it struck a chord with me. And like I said, I'll never forget it. And so, like I said, I just felt like I needed to do that because if I just let that slide, I just felt like he was going to just continue to think that it was okay.
Right.
And so my grandmother always said, "Don't never let nobody run over you."
No.
You know what I mean? That's how they say it. Don't let nobody run over you because you do that, they're going to continue. And so for me, I just addressed it and left it at that. And so maybe he didn't like what I had to say. But like I said, I didn't allow that to really deter anything that we did on the football field.
Right.
When we went out on the football field, bro, I just played, and sometimes, like I said, I was pissed, but I just did what I was supposed to do. So
that game, that was early in the season. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that was the beginning of the end of your relationship? What do you think?
Probably
why do you think
because,
that was?
Right, because, I still started, I was balling.
Oh, you were balling?
I look back, people tell me now I played in 21 games in Philly, I scored 20 touchdowns.
Yeah.
20 touchdowns.
In 21 games, yeah.
Yeah, and so I look back on it and the way that I was balling and the way the city embraced me. And you remember, like, when he got drafted, it was either him or Ricky Williams.
Right.
They booed him.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So I think he had some resentment because when I started balling from week one, when I scored 3 touchdowns against
They were going crazy. When they found out that the Eagles had signed you, the fans were going crazy.
The entire stadium, T.O. It was like something I had never experienced.
Right.
Everything probably that I wish I could have done in high school or college, I was experiencing as a pro.
Right.
I was a star. I witnessed that on the sidelines in high school with other guys.
Right.
They were the star of
Right.
the school, star of the team. In college, it was the same way. I worked my butt off, Shannon, to become T.O.
Right.
And so I can't imagine what he felt, or I guess maybe he had something against the city, but to have 67,000 chanting, when you do something big, have a big play,
Right.
and you're not, I guess he didn't feel like he was, being recognized as such. And me coming there my first year and really making a difference. And then we get, okay, I got hurt late in the season, December. And then
something was said.
The thing with the media was I going to be ready to play in the Super Bowl?
Right.
Him being the quarterback, the mouthpiece, the leader, the captain of the team, he had to face those questions the rest pretty much leading into the playoffs or what have you. And he basically said, we don't need T.O. to win. We've won games without him. And so I didn't really take any slight to it, but I heard it.
Right.
And so I guess
You said it was an unnecessary slight. He could have said, look, we want T.O. to get back as soon as he possibly can.
As a quarterback or the leader of the team.
Right, you say the right thing. You be politically correct.
Right.
Regardless of how you feel, you be PC in that moment.
Right, you can address it. You know how to address it. And so again, that was something that kind of loomed. And then there was the contract situation after that. He spoke highly of Brian Westbrook's contract, basically endorsing that the team should sign him to an extension. But when it came to me, nothing.
Radio silent.
Nothing. So that's when I knew that it was something personal. It wasn't anything personal with me against him, because I'm not that person.
Right.
I've never been that type of person.
But you are the type of person, if somebody cross you, you're done.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's
for
over,
sure.
T.O.
For sure, yeah. But I'm not the type. I'm not no jealous type of person.
Right.
I'm not a hater. I'm not no gossiper. I'm not going to talk bad about another person because I may think he's better than me or whatever. I've never been that type of person. I've been my own person.
Right.
Because I knew my path and my journey to be who I became.
Then what happened with the fight situation in Philly?
With Hugh Douglas, they brought him on as like I guess a team ambassador or something like that. I was rehabbing an injury of what have you. So him and Donovan was buddy.
Right.
They were good friends. So I guess obviously when you boys,
because didn't he come back from Jacksonville?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they brought him back. They brought him back.
Yeah, and so he was sort of like the team, I guess, ambassador or what have you. And so obviously, I'm like the black sheep. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm like the black sheep. So him and Donovan, they're friends, and he and I, we've talked, discussed it or what have you. And again, I'm pretty sure he wished he could have done some things differently and thought things through, or maybe even talked to me.
Right.
But obviously, like I said, him and Donovan being friends, and obviously, like I said, Donovan really didn't like me, or at one point, then it all became personal, and he's trying to do things to antagonize me, this and that and the other. And I remember I was I was doing some treatment. I was down in the HydroWorks pool or what have you, and man, I'm not no punk, bro. I'm not no punk. And so he came in, and he said something, and the door was cracked, and I didn't like it. And I asked him to raise me up out of the HydroWorks pool. I went in there, kind of dried off a little bit, went and got some stuff. And so we kind of got to tussling a little bit. And Jeremiah Trotter kind of got in between us and tried to separate us. And I went through Trotter to get at Hugh.
I was told, they said, you almost seemed possessed.
I'm not no punk, bro. That's just me. I've been through so much. I was teased. I had low self-esteem issues when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I got we didn't call it bullied. We got picked on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So before I knew what that was. And so, man, when I was in high school, we ran track and things like that. I had a guy that spit in my mouth while I was asleep. Man, I got picked on. So when I got older, man, it got to the point where I was always, hear my grandma that don't never let nobody, do you wrong, or if they bigger than you, she may pick something up, hit them and run. trust me, you know what it's like. So I always remembered that. But man, I had gotten to the point to where I was upsized. I'm a grown man.
Right.
And I just wasn't gonna allow.
You won't take no earshot for anybody else.
Bro, I didn't care who it was and how big you were. But yeah, it was like I said, if I don't know what would have happened, but Trotter ended up, kind of separating, and he'll tell you, he's like, I went through Trotter. I went through Trotter to try to get at Hugh.
Come back the second year, you play, you still balling, and then Andy's like, go home. What led to Andy sending you home?
I did an interview with a guy by the name of Graham Bensinger, and I had met him in high school. He was an aspiring journalist or whatever in high school when I was in San Fran.
Right.
And so now I think he's in college or whatever. But I told him, and he had asked me, I had no idea. I'm coming from at the end of the game.
Right.
He goes, yo, I'm going to be a journalist one day, blah, 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 blah. I had no idea, like years later,
right,
this guy would be interviewing me.
Right.
And so I did the piece or what have you, and he brought up a statement or something that Michael Irvin had said. He was like, because at that time we were 4-3.
Right.
Second seed, we were 4-3. Still talented, still had a chance to make the playoffs. We lost some games, close games, and the only game that we got our butts kicked was the Pittsburgh game. So we easily could have been 6-1.
Right.
And so he was like, he phrased the question. He goes, I talked to Michael Irvin, and I guess Michael was doing TV or something like that. And he was like, Michael said, if Brett Favre was you guys as quarterback, you guys would be a better team or something along those lines. I just said, okay, I agree with that assessment.
Right.
And it wasn't any slight toward Donovan.
Right.
I was thinking that what Brett Favre had accomplished and who he was at that time, being sort of like, he was a Hall of Fame quarterback. Right. So I'm like, okay, well, you switching and you putting that, but I didn't.
T.O., you're supposed to be PC at that point.
But that's what I didn't, Shannon, I wasn't thinking at that time. I hadn't matured enough to understand the question.
Right. Sometimes they do ask you, got your question.
Well, he got me, and he got me up out of there. He did. He got me up out of there.
So when that comes, okay.
So the next day, the headline was, Terrell says that,
Eagles would be better with Brett Favre.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't say that. I'm like, what are y'all? You know how ESPN is loop the loop. Like, it was all over.
Right.
So I go in the next morning. That's all that was on the TVs.
You cut the TVs off?
No, this was in the lunch in our cafeteria.
You unplugged them all.
Man, let me tell you.
Man, there's a bug in the building or something.
Man, so this became a firestorm, bro. It just kind of it was like things just kind of just went haywire. And so I tried to address it. I'm like, yo, that's not what I said. And I basically, because I said, I told him, I said, yes, I would agree with that assessment. But I said, also, Donovan had been hurt.
Right.
And I said, if Donovan wasn't hurt, I said, we could easily be 6-1 right now. But that's not what they reported.
No.
So the team captain, Brian Dawkins and some other Trotter, they basically cornered me in the training room. What are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And I said, bro, that's not what I said.
Right.
So I asked him, I said, yo, look at the transcript. I said, get the transcript. And somebody went and got the transcript. I said, read it in its entirety, and you'll see exactly what I said.
Right.
They understood. I'm sitting in our trainer's office with Brian. Right. They saw that.
Right.
But that's not how the media spent it.
It was too late then.
Right.
The transcript didn't matter because it was already out there.
Right, exactly. The damage was already done. So I go to Andy Reid. I'm talking to Jeffrey Lurie and all those guys. And so at this point, they don't know what needs to happen.
Right.
So I have a publicist, and we're trying to figure out what's going to happen. And so she basically wrote something down for me to obviously go before the media for press conference or what have you. And so she had faxed it in to the equipment room, to that number, to the equipment room. So that whoever got it from the equipment room, they read it. So before I went out for my press conference, went to the captains, talked to Brian, I think, and I talked to Trotter. I showed Trotter what I had to read. Like I was apologizing for the organization, this and that and the other. And it was a section on it like, I want to apologize to Donovan, blah, blah, blah. Trotter suggested I take that out because it was addressing, because I was addressing him with the team.
Right.
He didn't feel like that I needed to address him.
No, you had to address, you should have.
That's what happened. So I didn't end up saying that part. I just said, I apologize to the team, my teammates, and anybody that it offended. You know, I offended, whatever, by saying that. So whomever got it from the fax machine, they saw that I didn't read that.
Oh, they saw that you didn't read verbatim what the original statement. Oh.
Bingo. Got back to the coach. Then they must have told Donovan or what have you. And then he was ticked off because I didn't personally address or specifically address him. So Andy Reid wanted me to go out there in front of everybody and do it in front of everybody. And I told Andy, no, I'm not doing that. That's not happening.
You're not doing what?
I'm not going out there and apologize.
He wanted you to do it again.
I'm apologizing in front of the team to Donovan personally. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. No, sir. I wasn't doing that. Because number one, I knew in my heart that I didn't mean for the way that it sounded, nor how the media spun it, to make it seem like I didn't.
T.O., you do understand how intent works. Intent only matters to you. The person that was offended is equally as offended, whether you meant it or not.
Right, but we never even got to a point of even discussing that. You know what I mean? So I was just like, no, I'm not doing it.
T.O., why not just apologize, bro? You know
because
what?
I felt like I did it within the scope of what I address it. So when I apologize to my teammates and anybody that offended, then that's basically me addressing it.
T.O., you can't do that because T.O., here's the thing: you didn't say that's not just anybody. That's the quarterback, and you said a quarterback from another team you guys would be better. Now that's not how you meant it,
right? Yeah,
but that's how it came across once the headline. Because how do I get you to read the paper? I got to get headlines. So I got to put something in bold captions to capture your attention so you will actually read it. So now
Bro, at the end of the day, when I've always said, you've heard me say this statement, if I could go back, there'll be some things I would do differently.
Okay.
This would probably be one of those things.
Okay.
But at that time, that's not where my mindset was, because I knew that that's not what I meant. You know what I mean? I wouldn't intentionally throw my quarterback under the bus. I was just answering that question based on what he asked me.
Right.
But then at the same time, the media did me a disservice because they didn't, like I said, they didn't include the second part of it. Because Donovan had been injured that year. I said we could have easily been 6-1 instead of sitting here 4-3. So, but the thing is, I just said, okay, I was giving not more respect, but I was just giving kudos and respect to who Brett Favre was and the caliber of quarterback he was at that time.
Right.
It wasn't any slight.
It wasn't a shot at Donovan.
No, it wasn't a slight. If you listen to how he phrased it, then you could see where I was coming from with my answer.
Mm-hmm. What happened with you and Brad Childress? Because you guys wasn't Brad, he was the offensive coordinator, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You and him had a contentious relationship.
So once I think something happened, I got back. And at this point in time,
because you didn't get suspended for the Donovan thing, you got suspended with butting heads with Brad, right?
No, it was
a combination.
I think it might have been a combination thing because they were going to play Washington that week,
right?
And so Andy Reid basically said, we're gonna go play Washington. You're gonna sit this one out, and then he said, over the weekend we're gonna, I'm talk to the owner and obviously the other players or whatever, and we'll see, we'll assess everything and then go from there.
Right.
And so, little did I know that was the last game that the practice that I played.
Okay, they suspend you. It was only supposed to be for 4 games, right? No, but they changed the rules because they suspended you indefinitely. Now they can only suspend you for 4 games.
Right. Yeah, but Donovan had a hand in, like I said, if he.
How you know that, T.O.?
Come on, bro. Trust me. Trust me. So that was bad enough for me to be suspended for the whole year? That situation?
Okay, what happened? So what happened with the sit-ups in the driveway?
What about it?
T.O., you know, T.O.
I went to training camp. That was me and Andy Reid. We butted heads.
Right.
I had, they have like positions after certain practices, they go sign autographs.
Right.
But I was injured. I was nursing a groin injury.
Right.
So that was my priority. I wanted to prioritize
Give it
my
treatment for growing.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So, bro, when I came there, do your research. When I got to the Philadelphia Eagles and we went to Lehigh Stadium, it was tens of thousands there every day.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon, I signed autographs. I laughed. I took pictures, everything. So I didn't feel like I needed to take away from my treatment of me getting better and
Right.
being on the football field.
But that's a given. In the West Coast, that's a West Coast thing. What we do, they have certain groups. Like one day it might be receivers and DBs. You go and you sign autographs for 10, 15 minutes. The next day it might be someone else. So you might do that twice while you're in training camp.
I was doing it daily.
Right.
Because of I knew that was part
But
of.
if you're injured, you're exempt from that. You go get treatment. That's how it was in Denver.
Thank you. So that's how I saw it. So I wanted to prioritize my health. Dude, he was running me in the ground, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like I ran every route. Every time Donovan was at quarterback, I had to run a route.
Right, yeah. That's how it normally is. As a starter, then you go.
No, even the head trainer had to tell him, like, look, he's nursing a groin injury. You can't just run, bro. I practiced hard.
Right. Oh, I know.
And so it was getting to me. So I got to the point like I needed to get back on the field. That's how I was going to be productive.
Right.
That's what people pay their money to come to see. They come to see a show.
Right.
So I wanted to prioritize that, and we butted heads, and he didn't like what I had to say. And I said, look, my health is more important than going to sign some autographs. Like I signed just one day.
Right.
So he didn't like what I had to say. He told me to go home. He's like,
how did you say it, T.O.? Did you say, Andy, look, I'm nursing a groin injury. Now I've signed, trust me, I've signed my fair share of autographs, but you should understand that I need to get back.
We were in a setting, we were like in a hallway or whatever. And so we were just kind of just going back and forth. The banter, obviously started calm, and then I didn't like what he had to say. He didn't like what I had to say. And then he was like, again, I'm not going to be disrespectful.
Right.
But I was like, our voices may have raised a bit, but he was like, you know what?
I'm not going to be disrespectful, but I'm not going to let you be disrespectful to me either.
Right.
Now. Just because you're the coach now, you don't think you can talk to me any kind of way.
At this point, I'm a grown
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
So he basically just told me, like, you know what? Go home.
Mm-hmm.
He said, we'll get back to you. So I went back to the dorm, got my stuff, drove back to Morristown, and little did I know, I get home. At this point, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm talking, I talked to I'm a publicist at the time. I'm
Talk
trying
to your agent.
You're trying to figure. I'm like, what do I do in the interim? And so I had no idea that the time that I'm I got in the place in my house. I'm just walking around, and then I heard some helicopters, but I didn't really think too much of it. So then I hear a knock at the door, and I got the blind. I had the little shutter blinds. Right. I looked through there, Shannon. They were camped. They had done set up shop.
Who told them though?
But I mean, it was an hour and a half to get from Lehigh back to Morristown.
Right.
So you can only imagine, who had contacted.
The team probably had.
By that time, and then like I said, the local media, whatever. Right. So dude, they had the news trucks, everybody. I looked outside, the tripod. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Shannon, honestly, I knew I was a star then. Shannon, I ain't gonna tell a lie. I was like, I'm a star. And so I just tried to make light of a situation, bring some levity to it.
Okay.
So before I left Lehigh, Coach Reed basically said, "Either look, go home. We'll get,
we'll get back to you. Don't call us. We'll call you."
Yeah, he said, "Just keep yourself in shape."
Okay. Because ain't he really a good dude to you?
No, he is. No.
Red is a good dude. Everybody, we call him Red.
Man, I talk to him now. Man, and so I get to the house, and like I said, things happen, and I just remember, he was like, just make sure you're in shape.
Right.
So, at my house, I had an ab bench, laying around the house, this and that and the other. So they kept knocking at my door. So I'm like, man. So I called my publicist, and she goes, I said, what should I do? Blah, blah, blah. So I said, I went outside at one point in time. I had a basketball goal. Went out some flip flops. I'm just shooting basketball. Right. I remember that the aerial shots they showed me basketball. So I went back in the house. And then so when I went back out,
You should have been like Punxsutawney Phil. Once you go back in the house, stay in the house. Like Groundhog Day. You just stay in your butt in the house, Tio.
so but they was gonna camp out there all day. I had to go eat.
Call the
man.
police on them.
So this is what I said. Let me just have fun with it. And I just, like I said, in the back of my mind, I'm just hearing Andy Reid, keep yourself in shape.
Right.
So I'm looking around, so I see my ab bench. And so I was talking to my publicist and so that was the time when you had the little earpiece.
Yeah.
And to this day, until nobody knew that she was on my earpiece. She was on live when I went out there.
Right.
So when I took my ab bench out there, I was answering the questions. She heard what they were saying, and so she was just telling me what to say or whatever. Right. And if it was something I didn't want to answer, I just said no comment.
Right.
So that was the reason behind me bringing number one, the ab bench out there, because I'm like, hey, he told me to come home,
right.
Come in here and stay in shape. So that's what I was doing.
Okay. So you leave Philly. It didn't work. I mean, you had a great, like you said, in 21 games, you had 20 touchdowns. You did go to the Super Bowl. Let's talk about that Super Bowl. Normally, if somebody plays injured or plays hurt, it's like, you know what? Man, he did a good thing. Now he should be commended. Yeah. Why did you get so much criticism? You're the only guy that's ever played in a game when you're not hurt, you're injured because you're 7 weeks removed from a broken ankle and a torn ligament in your ankle. Why did you get so much criticism for trying to help your team win? Had there been anybody else, they'd have built a statue of him.
Like I said, I'm black. I'm outspoken. They looked at me as a brash, selfish, arrogant type of player. So anything negative I felt like that they could throw towards me, that's what they did. And so, again, at the end of the day, I said it in the press conference, too. I'm like, yo, if this would have been Brett Favre, you guys would be praising him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I looked at some of the games that he's played where he was sick or dealing with, family issues and the way he played. I mean, he was lauded for that. Right. You know what I mean? Just recently, Tom Brady played with 13 stitches in the hand. They was like, that's like he did something miraculous. Right. But I played with the extent of the injury that I played with, should have been out. I even had to sign a waiver to play in the Super Bowl. The doctor didn't even medically clear me. Didn't even clear me. But I had a broken fibula. Yeah. Had 2 screws and a plate in my ankle. And dude, at the end of the day, man, like my grandmother's always just told me, just be true to who you are, always have faith. And that's how I played the game. That's how I live my life, man, just on faith, everything. Faith is belief in something that doesn't seem possible. Right. You know what I mean? That was the caption on my post the other day. And that's how I've always operated, man. And for whatever reason, things were, I was targeted.
Faith is believing the unseen.
Yeah. People said this and that about me because of hearsay without even getting to know me. They perceive me, the perceptions. I get it. It's out there. But I know me. I know my heart. My teammates know me. And just because, like I said, a few people that may not have liked me, people that are in the media, they created narratives. People jumped on those narratives. Networks did. And it just kind of just compounded. So I still get it today. People, they don't approach me because of what they've heard and read throughout the course of my career.
You go to Dallas. Jerry Jones is all in. Jerry Jones is giddy like he just opened a package, opened a present on Christmas. But the head coach, you and the head coach kind of butted heads right away. Parcells.
We didn't. I had nothing against him.
I know you didn't.
So we didn't butt heads. Maybe he had a disagreement in the decision that Jerry
to bring you on.
Right, but I had nothing against Parcells, none whatsoever. Right. So I don't really think we butted heads. But,
he butted heads.
Right. Because of, I guess maybe he just didn't agree with the decision to bring me in because Keyshawn, when his guy Keyshawn had played with him in New York with the Jets, he was there and he didn't feel like I was the caliber of receiver that he needed, possibly. But obviously Jerry Jones saw different. Right. I mean, even to the point to, like I said, when I left there, Keyshawn went in the booth, he started taking shots at me when I was in Dallas. So to whom much is given, much is required of man, and I've dealt with a lot.
You had a great relationship with Tony Romo. Tony Romo was giving you the ball. You go to Pro Bowls. You're an All-Pro. And then something happened. What happened?
Bro, I have no idea. I signed a 4-year extension. Right. Going into the offseason of after my 3rd year, I played 06 to 09. Right. Jerry Jones calls me, and I felt honored at the call because I've been on teams where I've heard how coaches, general managers, and owners talk to the vets of teams and kind of asking their input. of
Gauge.
how- Same thing Aaron Rodgers has gone through the last
Right.
few years, not feeling included.
Right.
Dude, I felt honored. He called me and he was like, yo, what do we need to get over the hump? I gave him my assessment of what we needed to do based on the 3 years that I had been there. I got an extension. I go into the off season. I think it was like maybe 2 months. I'm living in Florida. My agent is living in Florida at the time, a financial guy. And so the owners meeting, there's a big owners meeting or something in Florida. So Jerry's coming to town. My agent called me because, yo, Jerry's coming to town. He wants to talk to you. This is right before, I think, the new stadium is. We go into the new stadium in the following year. He goes, oh, Jerry, they want to talk to you, blah, 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 about the upcoming season.
Right.
Might I remind you now, I've already signed an extension.
Right.
So we meet them at this hotel on the water. Him and Steven, my agent was there, Drew was there, and we go inside the hotel, and they take us back to the back in this restaurant, and then they put us at a table, and so they put a cloth over the table, this and that and the other, and so we just started talking, and I could tell, like, Jerry had been,
Had a few.
yeah, he had a couple of them, I could just tell, and so I didn't really think much of it.
Right.
Steven was there. So we're at the table. Jerry's here. I think Drew was over here, and I think Steven may have been over there. I can't remember if the other agent was there or not. And so he just started talking about the organization and just making comparisons here and there, talking about Romo and the Cowboys and bringing up me. And then he gets a pen and draws a line down the middle of the table. So now he starts kind of differentiating, kind of just separating kind of like everything that's like, okay, the Cowboys over here, and then he put T.O. over here. Then he would start, he put one line over there, and then he started putting like, he said Romo, this, that, and the other, T.O. over here. Organization here, T.O. here. Anything positive or, related to the Cowboys, he put on one side, and then he basically was like, I'm on this side.
You on an island, you by yourself.
So then he drew a line down the middle of this, and he said, we got to part ways. That's how I got cut.
What? But you had just signed a 4-year extension the year before, right?
That's how I got cut, Shannon. No lie. That's how it ended. And I remember Drew looked at me and I looked at him, and I'm thinking this is a joke.
You're like, where the cameras?
Right.
Y'all
I'm looking for
punking
Ashton
me.
Kutcher.
Y'all punking me. There's Candy Camera. I don't know if you old enough to remember Candy Camera.
Yeah.
But Punk is
So, and then when we saw that it was real, I think Drew asked, he's like, are you serious? Is there any way we can, resolve this or whatever? I was kind of like in shock. I was kind of at a loss for words. I didn't really know what to say, what to do. Just asked my agent, like, where do we go from here? I don't know what transpired from really that phone call that we had, months prior to that day.
The reports are, you can confirm or deny that there was started to be some tension between you and Jason Witten.
Never. I don't even know where that comes from. I've even had and seen shows with you and Skip, and they said that he bucked up at me and he did like.
He confronted you.
Bro, Jason Witten has never confronted me. We've never had any tension. And trust me, this ain't what he want anyway. I promise you, dude. Shannon, I promise you that. I promise you that. I'm not no bad, tough guy, but we never had any tension, so
Right.
I don't even know where Skip got that from.
Right.
And he said that he confronted me. I remember he was like, "Oh, Witten confronted T.O. at practice, and I backed down." I'm like, "What?" But stuff like that, I just let it go. And that's how a lot of stuff in the media gets blown out of proportion. People believe X, Y, Z.
But T.O., your numbers
Bro,
didn't warrant a release? Did Jerry understand?
I came on the show and I showed you. I told you everything. I even brought the what is it? The release papers
Yeah.
or whatever. It said conduct detrimental to the team is why I was being released. No, was it performance-based? It was one or the other.
Yeah, because there's two clauses.
Right,
Performance-based or, yep.
Right. So I think it was marked performance-based.
Mm-hmm.
It had, exactly. I brought the paper on the show because I got somebody to send it to me because it has to be filed with the NFLPA.
Absolutely.
And I when I read that, it said the reason that I was being cut was performance-based. It had nothing to do with conduct detrimental to the team. But if you let Skip Bayless tell it, he'll piss in your face and tell you it's raining.
Of all the releases, the parting of the ways at the 49ers, the parting of the Eagles, the Cowboys, it seems to me the Cowboys hurt the most.
Because I don't like when, obviously quarterbacks, they're like the head coach. They start getting control. Romo started to play, lights out. Again, I was a part of his success, and then he was dating Jessica Simpson. He was a star.
You went to bat for him. Because remember they lost to the Giants? He was in Mexico partying with Jessica. Yeah. You was on there saying, that's my quarterback. You went to bat for him.
Bro, trust me. Not only did I see things that were going on during practice, games, or whatever, where he was forcing the ball in double coverage to witness, bro, I wasn't the only one that mentioned some of those things. Maybe those guys weren't vocal enough or had the balls enough to say it, and I addressed it, and maybe he didn't like the truth, but I saw it, and it wasn't like I addressed things behind closed doors. Like I said, when I went to Philly, I wasn't trying to have that stigma that I was a bad teammate.
Correct.
All these things that I've heard, okay, we're going to keep things in-house, let's talk. That's what I was doing.
Right.
My coaches, they'll tell you the things that we addressed as an offense or individual, it got outside of the room. And wasn't but there were specific people in that room.
So you know it came from one of them?
My coach even knew who that came from. Knew when no players weren't going to say nothing. And it got to the media about
specific details
of what was being said.
See, that's why you keep your circle small, because something get out, you know where it came from, you know who said it.
Trust me. So all of that stuff, man, and the Todd Haley's, the Wittens, and all the stuff that transpired, man, like I said, it is what it is. I know, like I said, they had a hand in me not returning. There was something that happened. And when Dez went through that little situation, guess who was still there? It was a similar situation with Romo, Garrett, and Witten. Why he started, trust me, where there's smoke, there's fire. Like I said, I don't just say stuff just to be saying it. Right. And then years later, people now see and they think, like, man, T.O. was on to something. Maybe there's something to it. I'm just not going to make something up, bro. Right. Like, I was a team player, man. If I'm running routes, Shannon, I know what I know my job as a number one receiver. I can be a decoy. I can be number one. I know how valuable I was. I mean, there were times, man, I would haul ass off the line, knowing I wasn't finna get the ball, Shannon, but I know my tight end gonna be open. Right. Somebody in the seam is gonna. That's what I do. Right. There were games I remember. I'm sprinting down the field, I'm clearing out for my guy. I want to get my guy knocked out. He makes a big gain. I'm running back to the huddle with man. He goes, man, T. He goes, man, this play never happens if you don't do what you're doing. Right. Shannon, that's who I was. Right. But if you listen to the media, they're going to tell you something totally different. And that's why I was so confident in my ability and I did what I did and I was still outspoken because my grandmother told me to tell the truth. You know what I mean? I didn't know anything about being politically correct, Shannon. Right. You know what I mean? That's not that I wasn't wired. I wasn't wired that way. And when they asked me something, I answered it. You know, I wasn't thinking, okay, if I answer this way, okay, this is putting this guy, you know, in harm's way. I wasn't thinking that way. But as I got older, then I started, okay, this is the media's angle. This is how they do things. Mm-hmm. And so now, like I said, then when you start not wanting to talk to the media, then they have a problem with you. When they're making you look bad, it's like, okay, you can't win. Right. So that's why, like I said, I let my play do the talking and speaking for me, and I felt like it did loudly. And so I realized that I had the last say. No matter, like I said, whatever went on, if I went out and played poorly, it was only going to validate what they were saying and what they were talking about. So I just did what I had to do.
But, T.O., I mean, I don't think sometimes you even realize what you accomplish. You go to San Francisco and eventually you're the leading receiver. You go to Philly, you're the leading receiver. You go to Dallas, you're the leading receiver. You go to Buffalo, and you only, what'd you play? I think you played 14 games. You the leading receiver.
And it was guys, what, 10 years younger than me?
Yeah.
Lee Evans was a leading receiver in Buffalo. I go to Cincinnati. Chad had been there with Carson Palmer for 9, 10 years. He's been the leading
And you'd
receiver.
have had a double-digit touchdown and 1,000 yards had you not tore your knee up with 2 games left, 3 games left?
I finished with, 973 or something like that.
Yeah.
Could have had 1,000. Easy.
Right.
10 touchdowns. And during that season, people don't even know. That Monday night, if you go back and watch that Monday night game and see the highlights, I had a broken hand during that game and had 10 receptions, something yards, and a touchdown. And against Troy Polamalu, I had broke my hand during the week of practice. I put a pad on it, balled out. When I got up, people didn't even know that when I got tackled, I had to get up on my wrist because I couldn't put my hand down.
Right.
But those are the things that I did. I played with pain. I did it for the team, you know what I mean? Because I knew how valuable I was. I learned that early on. I saw what Jerry did, and then I adopted, some of those things that he did in his play, and then I just took what God blessed me, and kind of just took a little bit of what Jerry did, and you got T.O.
If you could, have you talked to Donovan since you left Philly?
Man, we've talked and addressed that a couple of times, and then I think over the summer during
last year.
It resurfaced. He Tez does this show called Untold Stories. Right. He brings Donovan on, and this is how it came back. This is how it comes back up. He addresses what happened or what have you, and then he says that I prevented them from going back to Super Bowls, this and that and the other, but which was a bunch of hogwash because it's hypocrisy at its finest. Because during the time that they were asking him questions about, would I be ready or did we need him?
He said he didn't need you.
He didn't need me. But now, years later, you want to recount what happened, and now I prevented the team from going to the Super Bowl. So which is it going to be?
Right.
So I just had to basically just follow up, do a follow up or just kind of just.
But y'all cool.
No, we ain't cool. Not after that. Because I thought we were. We had addressed it at some point. I had to run into him, and I thought we were cool with it.
Okay.
And then this show comes about, Untold Stories, and it's.
Hold on, bro. I thought we had put this to bed.
So I just had to address, what he had put out there, and so I just basically just gave my side of the story. So, man, during that time that I played, and media had asked him during my tenure there, did I help him become a better quarterback, this and that and the other. I think he took offense to that. And
why?
You had to ask him that. I don't know why. But I had a conversation with my receiver coach at that time about some of the same things that the media was asking about his stats and how they increased. And you look at before I got there, when I got there, and after I got there, it was obvious.
Right.
And my coach knew that, but for whatever reason, he didn't like the questioning or the idea that I came in and I made him a better quarterback.
But it's okay, it's fact.
Bro,
look at my numbers with John Elway, look at my numbers without.
But I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a problem. He had the problem with that. I didn't.
Yeah.
So this is where all of this, like you said, where things went wrong, that it was him, it wasn't me, but everybody would think it's me because of history.
Right.
And the narrative that everywhere that I go, I'm an issue.
Yeah, it's hard to outrun your reputation.
Right. So, like I said, I just had to be true to who I was, man. At the end of the day, I know that with every quarterback that I played, the good ones, the average ones, not so, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did without them.
Right.
It was a complimentary thing. You know what I mean? So, it was. I was like a kid in a candy store. Just like Andy knew what he was getting, I knew what I was getting myself into when I went to high-powered offense that needed somebody of my caliber.
Right.
The defense was stacked. You got Trotter, Simon, you got Dawkins, Lewis. I mean, the defense was there. Our defense was like offense. So I already knew I was going to score. I was going to be scoring touchdowns left and right. because we're gonna have short field, we're gonna get the ball a lot. And so the numbers that we put up, like he improved in pretty much every category.
Right.
And for whatever reason, he doesn't, not that he needs to or I need any validation, but the media.
But the numbers speak for themselves.
I get that. So like I said, it wasn't a me situation. It wasn't me that was causing the issues.
What's your relationship like with Tony Romo?
I mean, we're cool. I haven't really said too much about, to him or what have you.
Have y'all run into each other?
No, I don't think. No, we haven't talked.
You mentioned a lot about your grandmother. You grew up in a small town in Alabama, Alexander City. Talk about your upbringing and how that shaped the T.O. that we see today.
Man, went to church. You know how they went to church every Sunday throughout the course of the week. That was
church,
missionary,
Bible study, Sunday school,
Bible school,
choir
Bible
practice.
School. Man, it was something. It was something to do every day of the week.
Yes.
Deacon board meeting. I didn't even have nothing to do with that, but I was going with my grandmother. She went, I went.
Right.
And she always instilled us in, what faith was about.
Right.
The higher being of God. And, I'm not a Bible thumper or anything like that.
Right.
But I know I'm truly blessed. I didn't get all this, just wake up with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, like I told you, faith, that's what she always told me. Just believe in yourself and have faith. And I've always been that way, throughout everything, through the highs and lows, just with the naysayer, the detractors. I mean, even just being on social media, and even now just with, me posting stuff and people thinking I'm crazy, I'm washed up, they thinking I'm doing it for X, Y, Z. They don't know me.
Right.
And if they got a chance to see how I was raised by a strict grandmother, growing up in the segregation era. Listening to her talk about the hardships, not only that she had gone through, but her mom and dad picking cotton. Bro, I can't imagine picking cotton in the hot sun. Bro, we get in the hot sun, we going in the shade.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter, 2 years ago, took her to Alabama for the first time. Shannon, she was like, it's hot. She couldn't stand it. She wanted to go in the house. But I can't imagine, some of the things that, we as Black America has gone through, and just listening to her talk to her friends at that time, some of what she had to go through. Mm-hmm. And so even, like I said, going through some of the things that I saw, the systemic racism and just being treated differently because I felt like I was a Black man, strong man, and outspoken. Shannon, I wasn't doing anything wrong.
Right.
My mom, my grandma, they would be the first to tell me. I had coaches, Black coaches, on the staff that I looked up to as big brothers, fathers, or whatever. They was aware of what was going on, and they pulled me to the side. They was like, "Yo, T, you're not doing nothing wrong. If you're doing something, we'll tell you."
Right.
That's why I still went out there, no matter what the media was saying about me, Shannon. That's why I still went out there on that field, and I played because I was mentally strong, and I didn't allow anything and everything that the media said about me, it was good or bad or what have you, and a lot of it was bad, to manifest. Because you talk about mental health awareness, how it is now.
Right.
I would have been a candidate for that.
Right.
But that's not how I roll. That's not how I was built.
Right.
As an athlete, we're built to get to that next level.
No matter what.
It's mental toughness. That's what makes us who we are. That's what makes the good and the great ones so great. And not taking away from, minimizing mental health awareness. I know that it's out there because we all experience that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go through those dark days and times.
We all get depressed. We all have some days better than others. So,
man, just growing up in a house, man, and not knowing who my dad was till I was like a preteen right before 13, and realizing that I was going to my dad's house and I didn't know. He stayed right across the street from me. I never thought about it, but I mean, as I grew up, I'm sure that may have had some type of effect on me. But I didn't prioritize, what I didn't have or what have you. I just made do with what I did have, and that was my grandmother there. And she taught me right from wrong. And then even now, I mean, people, again, they'll perceive me to be this person because of how the media has portrayed me. But if I was such a bad person, you would think of 10 years or whatever, how many years I've been out of the league, I would probably be in jail. I probably would have done something
Right.
to validate or give you a hint that, okay, this is what was going on.
Yeah.
But I'm not that, Shannon.
Right.
And I thank God for my grandmother for who I am.
Right.
And that's why I hold my head up high no matter what, anybody says about me. And I know there are people that I'll come in contact with, they look at me sideways, they think certain things. I can see it, I can feel it, but I am who I am. And like I said, I'm not gonna change just to appease you. Like I said, the things that I've done on the football field has afforded me daily opportunities.
Right.
People, there's stuff on the internet about me losing money, having this, that, and the other. I'm doing such and such for money. Bro, I've been without money and I've had money.
Right.
And I'm fine.
Right.
I look good. My kids are fine. Why are they worried about me?
Right.
So again, my grandmother, like I said, I owe a lot to her and my mom.
Right.
My mom, like I said, she raised 4 kids. I got 2 sisters and a brother. They supported me, and man, it's amazing that I came out of Alexander City, Alabama. I came out of Benjamin Russell High School. Shannon, we had some studs. We had some stars at Benjamin Russell High School, and I guarantee you, none of them would have thought that I would have been the one that made it to where I made it.
I appreciate you stopping by, man.
Man.
Best of luck. Continue.
Appreciate it.
With the wine, the glasses, the clothing.
Oh yeah, I got to get you some of my candles too. I got candles, everything. I told you about my 3 pillars of success:
Yeah.
desire, dedication, and discipline. And I have a wine pairing candle that goes with the wine. We took some of the tasting notes and we made a wine pairing candle and a gold vessel. So we have since dedicated to desire, dedication, and discipline.
You know where I live. Drop it off. What, bro?
I want you to unveil it just like you unveil your LeBrons and your shoe surgeon shoes.
You know I
everything.
put it up there.
Yeah, I want that same treatment.
You were the first one to call me after I had my hip surgery and say, "Hey, man, you need anything?
Man, trust me.
I drop. Hey, I know where you live. I drop it off if you need it, bro." I said, "Man, I'm good. I appreciate that,
bro." That's just,
I know that. I know, Tio.
Yeah.
You know I'm going to bat for you.
No, for sure. And like I said, I take the criticism, good and bad, and I take it for what it's worth.
Because you know I'm a true friend to you. That's what you know.
Yeah. You
good looking.
real.
Bro, I appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely.
Best of luck on your podcast. I heard you about to start shooting that back again.
Yes, sir.
Best of luck on your podcast.
Yes,
Give us the name of it right quick before we end it.
Get Your Popcorn Ready podcast with myself, T.O. and Hatch. It's going to air August 22nd on Fubo Sports Network at 8 p.m. every Sunday and on YouTube anytime.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life.